Marcus Rodriguez had been riding his black Harley-Davidson motorcycle for 3 long days. The 45-year-old man was traveling alone on the famous Pacific Coast Highway. This was his special trip that he took every year. But this year was different. This year, he needed this trip more than ever before. 6 months ago, his wife of 15 years had left him. She took half of everything they owned together. She took the house. She took the car. She even took their dog Max. Marcus was left with his motorcycle repair shop in Sacramento and a heart full of pain. Every day felt the same. Wake up, go to work, fix motorcycles, go home to an empty apartment, sleep, repeat. That is why he was here on this mountain road. The Pacific Coast Highway was the most beautiful road in California. It ran along the ocean cliffs. On one side was the deep blue Pacific Ocean. On the other side were tall green mountains. Marcus had been riding this road since he was 20 years old. It always made him feel better when life got hard. But today the weather was getting bad. Dark gray clouds were moving in from the ocean. The wind was getting stronger. Marcus could smell rain in the air. He looked at his watch. It was almost 6 in the evening. He needed to find a place to stay for the night soon. Then the rain started. At first it was just a few drops on his leather jacket. Then more drops hit his helmet. Within minutes the rain was coming down hard. Marcus had to slow down his motorcycle. The road was getting slippery. He could barely see through his helmet visor. The rain was hitting him from all directions. His jacket was getting soaked. Water was running down inside his boots. The wind was pushing his heavy motorcycle around on the wet road. Marcus knew he needed to stop soon. This was getting dangerous. He was looking for a safe place to pull over when he heard something strange. Even over the sound of his motorcycle engine and the heavy rain, he could hear something else. It sounded like crying. Not human crying. Animal crying. Marcus slowed down even more. He listened carefully. There it was again. A soft whimpering sound coming from somewhere near the road. He stopped his motorcycle and turned off the engine. Now he could hear it clearly. Something was crying in the bushes beside the road. Marcus got off his bike and walked toward the sound. The rain was pouring down on him. His boots made squishing sounds in the mud. Lightning flashed across the sky, lighting up everything for a second. In that flash of light, Marcus saw something small and golden moving under a fallen tree branch. He knelt down in the mud and moved the branch carefully. There underneath was a tiny puppy. It was a golden retriever puppy that could not have been more than 2 months old. The little dog was soaking wet. Its fur was matted and dirty. It was shivering so hard that its whole little body was shaking. The puppy looked up at Marcus with big brown eyes full of fear. It was so weak it could barely lift its head. Marcus could see that this little animal was in serious trouble. It had probably been out in the rain for hours, maybe even days. Without thinking twice, Marcus took off his leather jacket. He was immediately soaked by the cold rain, but he did not care. He wrapped the tiny puppy gently in his warm jacket. The little dog felt so light in his arms, like it weighed almost nothing. The puppy stopped shivering as soon as it felt the warmth of the jacket. It looked up at Marcus and made a tiny sound. Not crying anymore, just a soft little noise like it was trying to say thank you. Marcus stood up, holding the bundle close to his chest. The rain was still coming down hard. Lightning was flashing more often now. Thunder was getting louder. This storm was getting worse fast. He looked at his motorcycle, then at the puppy in his arms. How was he going to get this little animal to safety in this weather? Marcus held the tiny puppy close to his chest. The little golden retriever was wrapped in his leather jacket like a baby in a blanket. Even through the jacket, Marcus could feel how thin the puppy was. Its tiny ribs were showing. This little dog had not eaten in days. The storm was getting much worse. The rain was now coming down so hard that Marcus could barely see 10 feet in front of him. The wind was howling through the trees, making scary sounds. Lightning was flashing every few seconds, followed by loud thunder that made the ground shake. Marcus looked at his motorcycle. Then he looked at the puppy. Then he looked at the dark road ahead. He had a big problem. The nearest town was Mendocino, and that was still 40 miles away. In good weather it would be an easy ride, but in this storm it would be very dangerous. The puppy was clearly very sick. It was breathing fast and shallow. Its little body felt hot like it had a fever. Its eyes were only half open. This little animal needed help right away. It needed a veterinarian. It needed medicine. It needed food and water. Marcus tried to think of options. He could try to ride his motorcycle with the puppy, but that would be almost impossible. He needed both hands to control his bike on the wet, slippery road. If he tried to hold the puppy with one hand, he would probably crash. Then they would both be hurt or worse. He could wait out the storm, but the puppy might not live that long. It was already so weak. Every minute that passed made things worse for the little animal. Marcus pulled out his cell phone. Maybe he could call for help. Maybe someone could come and rescue them. But when he looked at his phone screen, there were no signal bars. No service. They were too far from any cell phone tower. The phone was useless. He looked around for any sign of help. Maybe a house. Maybe another person. But there was nothing. Just dark trees and rain and the empty road. They were completely alone in the middle of nowhere. The puppy made a soft, whimpering sound. Marcus looked down at the little face peeking out of his jacket. The brown eyes were looking up at him. The puppy seemed to know that Marcus was trying to help. It seemed to trust him completely. Marcus felt his heart breaking. In the past 6 months, since his divorce, he had felt empty inside. He had not cared about anything or anyone. But now, holding this helpless little creature, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt needed. He felt like he had a purpose. He was not going to let this puppy die. Not if he could help it. He would figure out a way to get them both to safety. Just as Marcus was trying to decide what to do, he saw something in the distance. Through the heavy rain, he could see 2 bright lights coming toward them. Headlights. A car was coming down the mountain road from the opposite direction. Marcus felt a surge of hope. Maybe the driver would stop and help them. Maybe they could get a ride to town. He stepped closer to the edge of the road so the driver would see him. The car was moving slowly because of the storm. As it got closer, Marcus could see it was a big, expensive-looking vehicle, a black SUV, the kind that rich people drove. The headlights got brighter as the vehicle approached. Marcus waved his free hand, trying to get the driver's attention. The puppy made another small sound, like it sensed that help might be coming. The SUV slowed down even more. Then it stopped completely about 20 feet away from where Marcus was standing. The engine was still running. The headlights were shining through the rain. Marcus waited. His heart was beating fast. Would the driver help them, or just drive away? The black SUV sat there with its engine running and headlights cutting through the heavy rain. Marcus could not see inside because of the dark windows. He wondered what kind of person was behind the wheel. Would they help, or would they just drive away? For what felt like forever, nothing happened. Then Marcus heard the click of a car door opening. A man stepped out into the pouring rain. Even in the darkness and storm, Marcus could see that this was not an ordinary person. The man was not very tall, but he had a strong, powerful build. His shoulders were broad, and his arms looked muscular even under his clothes. He moved in a confident way, like he was used to being in control of any situation. Most people would run through the rain to stay dry, but this man walked calmly, like the storm did not bother him at all. He was wearing expensive-looking clothes. A nice black jacket that probably cost more money than Marcus made in a month. Dark jeans that looked brand new. Boots that were clearly made of real leather. This was someone with money. Someone important. As the man got closer, Marcus could see his face better in the headlight glow. He had sharp features and intense eyes. There was something familiar about him, but Marcus could not place where he might have seen this face before. Maybe he just looked like someone famous. The stranger had an accent when he spoke. It was British. His voice was deep and smooth. The kind of voice you might hear in movies. "Are you all right, mate?" the man asked. His tone was genuinely concerned, not annoyed about being stopped in the storm. Marcus was surprised by how kind the stranger sounded. He had expected someone driving such an expensive car to be rude or impatient. Instead, this man seemed truly worried about Marcus and wanted to help. "I found this puppy," Marcus said, holding up the bundle in his jacket. "It's really sick, and I need to get it to a veterinarian. But my motorcycle is not safe in this storm with the puppy." The stranger stepped closer to look at the little animal. "Let me see," the man said gently. Marcus carefully opened his jacket to show the tiny golden retriever. The puppy was barely moving now. Its breathing was very shallow. The British man looked at the puppy with real concern in his eyes. "This little one is in bad shape," he said. "We need to get it help immediately. The nearest vet clinic is in Mendocino. I can drive you there in my vehicle." Marcus was amazed. This complete stranger was offering to help without asking for anything in return. In Marcus' experience, most people these days only cared about themselves. But here was someone willing to go out of his way for a sick animal, and a man he had never met before. "You would do that?" Marcus asked. "You do not even know me." The man smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. "Does not matter, mate," he said. "This little puppy needs help, and I have a warm, dry car. Besides, I have always been a dog lover, cannot just drive away and leave you stranded." There was something about this stranger that made Marcus trust him immediately. Maybe it was his calm confidence. Maybe it was the kindness in his eyes when he looked at the puppy. Or maybe it was just that Marcus was desperate, and this man was offering exactly what they needed. "Thank you," Marcus said. "I really appreciate this. My name is Marcus, by the way." The stranger reached out and shook Marcus' hand with a firm grip. "Nice to meet you, Marcus. You can call me Jason." Marcus still felt like he knew this face from somewhere, but he could not remember where. Right now, it did not matter. What mattered was getting the puppy to safety. Jason walked over to his SUV and opened the passenger door. "Come on, then," he said. "Let's get this little one out of the rain." Marcus carefully climbed into the passenger seat of the expensive SUV while holding the puppy close to his chest. The inside of the vehicle was like stepping into a different world. Everything was warm and dry and comfortable. The seats were made of soft leather that felt amazing after being soaked in the cold rain. Jason got into the driver's seat and immediately turned up the heat. He adjusted the air vents so warm air would blow toward Marcus and the puppy. The little golden retriever seemed to sense the warmth and made a tiny sound of relief. "Here, let me help," Jason said. He reached into the back seat and pulled out a soft blanket. It looked expensive like everything else in this car. "Wrap the little one in this. It will help keep the puppy warm." As Jason handed Marcus the blanket, the interior lights of the SUV came on automatically. For the first time, Marcus got a clear look at the man's face in good lighting. What he saw made his jaw drop open in complete shock. Those sharp features, those intense eyes, that perfectly shaped bald head, the strong jawline. Marcus had seen this face hundreds of times before, on movie posters, on television, in action films that he loved to watch. This was Jason Statham, the famous movie star, the guy who played tough guys and heroes in films like The Fast and the Furious and The Expendables. One of the biggest action stars in Hollywood was sitting right next to him in this SUV. Marcus stared at Jason Statham like he was seeing a ghost. His mouth was hanging open. He could not believe what his eyes were telling him. This had to be some kind of dream or hallucination brought on by the stress of the storm and finding the puppy. Jason noticed Marcus staring at him with a shocked expression. He gave a small smile and nodded his head slightly. "Yes, mate, it's me," he said calmly. "But right now we have more important things to worry about than my job. This little puppy needs our help." Marcus was still in complete shock. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Here he was sitting in a car with one of his favorite movie stars, the same guy he had watched kick bad guys and drive fast cars and save the world in dozens of films. But what amazed Marcus even more than meeting a celebrity was how normal and kind Jason Statham was acting. In his movies, he was always the tough guy who did not show much emotion. But here in real life, he was showing genuine concern for a sick animal and a complete stranger. "I know this is probably weird for you," Jason said, as he started driving carefully down the wet mountain road. "But I hope you can see past the whole celebrity thing. Right now, I am just a guy trying to help save a puppy's life. Nothing more, nothing less." Marcus finally found his voice. "I cannot believe this," he said. "I mean, I watch your movies all the time. You are like my favorite action star. And here you are rescuing me and this puppy." Jason smiled again. "Well, life has a funny way of putting people in the right place at the right time," he said. "I was just driving back to my hotel after a long day of work. Then I saw you standing in the rain with that little bundle. I could not just drive by and do nothing." The puppy stirred in Marcus' arms and opened its eyes slightly. It looked around at the warm, comfortable interior of the SUV, then up at Marcus' face. For the first time since he found it, the little dog seemed to have a bit of hope in its eyes. "We are going to take good care of you, little one," Jason said softly to the puppy. "You are safe now." Jason Statham drove his black SUV through the dangerous mountain roads with the skill of a professional race car driver. The rain was still coming down hard, and the roads were slippery and treacherous. But Jason handled the vehicle like he had been driving these roads his whole life. Marcus watched in amazement as Jason navigated each sharp turn and steep hill with perfect control. This was not just acting from his movies. Jason really was an incredible driver. His hands were steady on the steering wheel, and his eyes were focused completely on the road ahead. The nearest veterinary clinic was still 35 miles away in the small coastal town of Mendocino. In good weather, that would be a 40-minute drive. But in this storm with these dangerous conditions, it was going to take much longer. Marcus looked down at the puppy wrapped in the soft blanket. The little golden retriever was breathing very fast now. Its tiny chest was moving up and down rapidly, like it was struggling to get enough air. The puppy's eyes were barely open, and it felt even hotter than before. "I think the puppy is getting worse," Marcus said with worry in his voice. "Its breathing is really fast, and it feels like it has a high fever." Jason glanced over at the puppy while keeping most of his attention on driving. "We need to get there as quickly as possible," he said. "Let me call the clinic and make sure they are ready for us." Jason pressed a button on his steering wheel, and a voice came through the car speakers. This was a hands-free phone system, so he could make calls while driving safely. "Connect me to Mendocino Animal Hospital," Jason said to the voice system. Within seconds, a woman answered the phone. "Mendocino Animal Hospital. This is Sarah Chen speaking." "Doctor, this is an emergency," Jason said in his calm but urgent voice. "We are bringing in a very sick puppy that was found abandoned in the storm. The animal appears to have hypothermia, dehydration, and possibly pneumonia. We should be there in about 25 minutes. Chen asked several important questions about the puppy's condition. What was its temperature? How long had it been outside? Was it responsive? Was it able to drink water? Marcus was impressed by how Jason answered each question. The movie star clearly knew a lot about animal care and medical emergencies. He was not just a tough guy actor. He was someone who understood how to help sick animals. "We will be ready for you when you arrive," Chen said. "Drive safely in this storm. We will have the emergency equipment prepared." After the call ended, Jason explained to Marcus that he had several rescue dogs at his homes in London and Los Angeles. He had learned about animal emergency care because he wanted to be able to help his own pets if they ever got sick or injured. "You really care about animals," Marcus said. "This is not just about helping a stranger. You genuinely love dogs." "Always have," Jason replied. "Dogs are loyal and honest. They love you no matter who you are or how much money you have. They do not care if you are famous or just a regular person. They just want to be loved and cared for." As they drove through the storm, Marcus felt something he had not experienced in months. He felt connected to another person. Here was this famous movie star who could have just driven past and ignored them. Instead, he was risking his own safety to save a puppy he had never seen before. The puppy made a soft, whimpering sound. Marcus gently stroked its tiny head. "Hang in there, little one," he whispered. "We are almost to the doctor." Jason pressed harder on the gas pedal. Time was running out for the small golden retriever. Jason pulled his SUV into the parking lot of Mendocino Animal Hospital at exactly 9:15 in the evening. The storm was still raging, but the clinic had bright lights on outside and inside. Through the large windows, Marcus could see dear Sarah Chen waiting for them with her medical team. Chen was a small Asian woman who looked to be in her 30s. She had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and was wearing blue medical scrubs. Even though it was late at night and the weather was terrible, she had stayed at the clinic to help their emergency patient. Jason and Marcus ran through the rain, carrying the puppy toward the clinic entrance. Chen opened the door before they could even knock. She led them quickly into an examination room that was already prepared with medical equipment and warm blankets. "Let me see the little patient," Dr. Chen said gently as Marcus carefully unwrapped the puppy from the blanket. She immediately began examining the tiny golden retriever with her hands and a stethoscope. The puppy was barely conscious now. Its breathing was very shallow and rapid. Its little body felt burning hot with fever. Chen frowned as she listened to the puppy's heart and lungs with her stethoscope. "This little one is in serious trouble," she said. "The puppy has severe dehydration, hypothermia, and what sounds like pneumonia. Its body temperature is dangerously high. We need to start treatment immediately." Chen and her assistant quickly moved the puppy to a special warming table. They inserted a tiny IV needle into the puppy's front leg to give it fluids and medicine. They placed an oxygen mask over its small nose to help it breathe better. Marcus and Jason watched anxiously as the medical team worked to save the little animal's life. The puppy looked so small and helpless, surrounded by all the medical equipment. Its eyes were closed, and it was not moving much at all. "How long do you think it was outside in the storm?" Chen asked while she worked. Marcus thought back to when he found the puppy. "Based on how weak and dehydrated it is, I would guess at least 2 or 3 days," he said. "Maybe longer." Chen nodded sadly. "This puppy is probably only about 8 weeks old, much too young to survive on its own. Someone must have abandoned it, or it got lost from its mother." While the medical team continued their work, Jason quietly spoke to the receptionist at the front desk. Marcus could not hear what they were talking about, but he saw Jason hand the woman his credit card. The treatment continued for over an hour. Chen gave the puppy antibiotics for the pneumonia. She gave it medicine to bring down the fever. She made sure it was getting enough fluids through the IV. Slowly, the little golden retriever's breathing began to improve. "The puppy is responding well to treatment," Dr. Chen finally announced. "Its breathing is getting stronger and the fever is starting to come down, but it will need to stay here overnight for observation." Marcus felt a huge wave of relief wash over him. The puppy was going to live. All their efforts to get it to the clinic in time had worked. "Thank you so much, Doctor," Marcus said. "You saved its life." Chen smiled. "Actually, you too saved its life by getting the puppy here so quickly. A few more hours in that storm, and it would have been too late." Jason walked back over from the front desk. "I have arranged for hotel rooms for both of us nearby," he said to Marcus, "and I have taken care of all the medical expenses for the puppy." Marcus was amazed once again by Jason Statham's generosity. "You do not have to do that," he said. Jason smiled. "Yes, I do, mate. We are in this together now." Chen explained that the puppy would need constant monitoring throughout the night. The little golden retriever was stable for now, but still very weak. Its condition could change quickly. Someone needed to check on it every hour to make sure it was still breathing properly and responding to treatment. Most people would have left the puppy in the doctor's care and gone to get some sleep. But Marcus and Jason were not most people. Both men decided they wanted to stay at the clinic through the entire night to watch over the little animal they had rescued together. Jason had arranged for them to stay at a nice hotel just 2 blocks away from the animal hospital. The rooms were paid for and waiting. But neither man wanted to leave the puppy alone, even though Dr. Chen assured them the clinic staff would take excellent care of it. "We should take turns staying with the puppy," Jason suggested. "One of us can rest while the other keeps watch. Then we can switch every few hours." Marcus agreed this was a good plan. He was exhausted from the long day of motorcycle riding and the stress of the rescue. But he was not ready to sleep yet. He wanted to make sure the puppy was really going to be okay. Chen set up 2 comfortable chairs next to the puppy's warming bed. The little golden retriever was sleeping peacefully now. Its breathing was much slower and more normal than before. The fever had come down significantly. The IV fluids were helping to rehydrate its tiny body. "You take the first rest period," Jason told Marcus. "You have been through more stress today than I have. I will stay with the puppy for the first few hours." Marcus wanted to argue, but he could feel how tired he really was. The emotional roller coaster of finding the puppy worrying about its life and meeting his movie hero had drained all of his energy. He decided to trust Jason and try to get some sleep. The hotel was very nice, much nicer than anywhere Marcus usually stayed when he traveled. The room had a huge, comfortable bed, expensive furniture, and a beautiful view of the ocean. But Marcus could barely enjoy any of it. His mind kept thinking about the little puppy back at the clinic. He lay down on the soft bed, but sleep did not come easily. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the image of the tiny golden retriever shivering in the rain under that fallen branch. He thought about how close they had come to losing the little animal. Just a few more hours in the storm, and it would have died. But he also thought about Jason Statham. Marcus had always admired the actor's tough guy characters in movies, but meeting the real person had been even more impressive. Jason had shown kindness, compassion, and generosity that went far beyond anything he had to do. After about 3 hours, Marcus gave up trying to sleep. He walked back to the animal clinic to check on Jason and the puppy. When he arrived, he found Jason sitting quietly next to the warming bed, gently stroking the puppy's fur with one finger. The little golden retriever had its eyes open now and was looking up at Jason. When it saw Marcus come into the room, its tiny tail moved slightly. This was the first time the puppy had shown any real energy since they found it. "How is our patient doing?" Marcus asked quietly. "Much better," Jason replied with a smile. "It drank some water about an hour ago." Chen said that was a very good sign. The puppy is definitely getting stronger. Marcus sat down in the other chair and looked at the little animal. In just a few hours it had gone from nearly dying to showing signs of real recovery. The professional medical care had made all the difference. The next morning brought wonderful news from Chen. The little golden retriever puppy had made it through the night successfully. Its fever was completely gone. Its breathing was normal and strong. The puppy was even trying to stand up on its own tiny legs. "This little fighter is going to make a full recovery," Chen announced with a big smile. "The pneumonia is clearing up nicely. The dehydration is completely resolved. With proper care and good nutrition, this puppy will grow up to be a healthy, happy dog." Marcus felt tears of joy in his eyes. After all the worry and fear of the past day, he could hardly believe the puppy was really going to be okay. The little golden retriever looked up at him with bright, alert eyes that were full of life again. Jason was smiling too as he gently petted the puppy's soft fur. "You are quite the survivor, little one," he said softly. "You fought hard to stay alive, and now you get to have a wonderful life." But Dr. Chen's good news also created a new problem that neither Marcus nor Jason had thought about before. What was going to happen to the puppy now that it was healthy? Where would it live? Who would take care of it? Marcus looked at the little golden retriever and felt his heart breaking. He wanted more than anything to take the puppy home with him. But his life was not set up for having a pet. He lived in a small apartment in Sacramento. He worked long hours at his motorcycle repair shop. He often went on long motorcycle trips that lasted for days or weeks. Most importantly, Marcus was still struggling with depression from his divorce. Some days he could barely take care of himself. How could he be responsible for a young puppy that would need constant attention, love, and training? Jason seemed to understand what Marcus was thinking without him having to say anything. "I can see you want to keep the puppy," he said, "but you are worried about whether you can give it the life it deserves." Marcus nodded sadly. "I live alone in a small place. I work all the time. I go on long motorcycle trips. It would not be fair to the puppy to leave it alone so much." Jason was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully. Then he made an offer that Marcus never expected to hear. "What if we shared responsibility for the puppy?" Jason suggested. "You could keep it with you in California, and I could help with expenses and care when I am in town working on films. I have houses in Los Angeles and London, but I am often in California for movie projects." Marcus stared at Jason in amazement. "You would do that?" he asked. "You would help me take care of a puppy you just met yesterday?" Jason smiled and looked down at the little golden retriever. "This puppy brought us together for a reason," he said. "Maybe we both needed something to care about. Something to give our lives more meaning and purpose." Marcus thought about what Jason was saying. For months since his divorce, he had felt empty and alone. He had no one to care for and no one who needed him. But yesterday, when he found this helpless little animal, something inside him had awakened. He felt needed again. He felt like he had a purpose. "We should give the puppy a name," Marcus said. "If we are going to be its family, it needs a proper name." Jason nodded. "What about Storm?" he suggested. "This little one survived a terrible storm and brought us together in the middle of one too." Marcus looked at the puppy and smiled. "Hello, Storm," he said gently. "Welcome to your new family." The golden retriever puppy wagged its tail and made a happy sound like it approved of its new name and its new life. 6 months later, Marcus Rodriguez was a completely different man than the broken-hearted biker who had found a dying puppy in a storm. His small apartment in Sacramento had been transformed into a home filled with love, laughter, and the sound of paws running across hardwood floors. Storm had grown into a beautiful, healthy golden retriever with shiny fur and bright, intelligent eyes. The little puppy who had once been near death was now full of energy and life. Every morning, Storm would wake up Marcus by jumping on his bed and licking his face. It was the best alarm clock Marcus had ever had. Marcus still worked at his motorcycle repair shop, but now he had a reason to come home every day. Storm would be waiting at the window, watching for Marcus' motorcycle to pull into the parking lot. The dog had learned to recognize the sound of Marcus' Harley-Davidson engine from blocks away. The depression that had consumed Marcus after his divorce was mostly gone now. Having Storm to care for had given him purpose and joy. He still felt sad sometimes about his failed marriage, but those feelings no longer controlled his entire life. He had something positive to focus on. Storm had also changed Marcus' travel habits. Instead of taking long solo motorcycle trips that lasted for weeks, Marcus now took shorter rides that lasted only a few days. He had bought a special trailer that attached to his motorcycle so Storm could come along on adventures. The golden retriever loved riding in the trailer and seeing new places. Jason Statham had kept every promise he made about helping to care for Storm. Whenever his movie work brought him to California, he would visit Marcus and spend time with their shared dog. Jason had become like family to both Marcus and Storm. The famous actor had even bought a house in Northern California, partly so he could be closer to Storm when he was not filming movies. The house had a huge backyard where Storm could run and play. Jason had installed a swimming pool specifically for the dog because golden retrievers love to swim. Marcus had visited Jason on movie sets several times. It was amazing to see his friend transform into tough action hero characters for the cameras. But Marcus knew the real Jason Statham was even more impressive than any movie character. He was a loyal friend who cared deeply about the people and animals in his life. Their unusual friendship had inspired other people in Sacramento. Marcus had started volunteering at the local animal shelter on weekends. He helped rescue abandoned dogs and cats and find them good homes. Storm would come with him and help socialize the scared animals. Jason used his fame to support animal rescue organizations around the world. He donated money to build new shelters and fund medical care for sick animals. He even starred in public service announcements encouraging people to adopt rescue pets instead of buying from puppy mills. Storm had become a local celebrity in Sacramento. Everyone at the motorcycle repair shop loved the friendly golden retriever. Customers would bring their own dogs to meet Storm. The local newspaper had written a story about the biker and the movie star who had saved a puppy together. But the most important change was in Marcus' heart. The empty, lonely feeling that had haunted him for months was gone. He woke up every morning grateful for his life and excited about each new day. Storm had taught him that love comes in many forms, and sometimes the most important relationships are the ones you never expect. Every night before bed, Marcus would look at Storm sleeping peacefully in his dog bed and remember that terrible stormy night when their lives had changed forever. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most difficult moments.